There was carnage in Liverpool a couple of days ago when a man drove his car into a crowd during a football victory parade. Lots of people immediately assumed that this was another Islamist terror attack. I didn't. Because it was in Liverpool, I assumed that the crowd had tried to steal the wheels off the car when it stopped at traffic lights, and then the guy panicked and wasn't familiar with the controls of the car because he'd just stolen it and he was on smack, because my Scousism is more refined than my Islamophobia. The driver was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder, dangerous driving, and driving under the influence of drugs, or as Scousers call it, an average night out. The police immediately publicly identified the suspect as a white British man from Liverpool and said that it wasn't terrorism. I don't think I've seen an ethnicity announced so quickly since Anchorman met his new boss.
Hello, Mr. Burgundy.
Oh, black. Black.
The rationale provided by the police for the swift release of information was to preempt the spread of misinformation and racially charged disinformation online, which could spill over into real-life rioting and physical attacks, as we saw last year during the Southport riots. Back then, rumours circulated online that the person who killed little girls at a dance class in Southport was a Muslim asylum seeker, and people, already furious that young male asylum seekers had been placed in hotels in their communities, attacked the hotels. The rumours that the killer was an asylum seeker were condemned as misinformation, and the police eventually released the truth about the attacker. He was a Welsh Christian choir boy with no apparent ideological motivation. I mean, he downloaded an Al-Qaeda training manual, but hey, show me a Welsh Christian choir boy who doesn't download Islamic terror guides. And look at him, he's barely a child. So that was the official information released to combat the misinformation that he was an asylum seeker, but it then slowly dripped out that Axel Muganwa Rudakabana is a second-generation Rwandan migrant whose parents fled to Britain from genocide-ravaged Rwanda in 2002, probably as asylum seekers. Axel himself had spoken of Britain needing a white genocide, so it seems that his family history of fleeing a genocide is actually pretty relevant, and he browsed anti-white racist material online. The authorities are still trying to get logs of his internet browsing history, which seems to be taking them quite a long time, and I'm sure the delay is purely because of the difficulty in recovering it, and not because his internet browsing history reveals anything that's damaging to the official narrative. So the authorities acknowledged that they had to release the ethnicity of the Liverpool attacker to stop rioting, and mosques or asylum hotels being attacked, which is strange. We were told that diversity is our greatest strength, so why are there now riots? We're told that community cohesion is of the utmost importance. If it is, why did they bring in millions of people from radically different cultures who will lead to less cohesive communities? But what's really interesting is what the authorities said about releasing the ethnicity. The Guardian interviewed former police superintendent Dal Babu, who stressed the decision had been correct to share the information on this occasion to combat racist and Islamophobic misinformation on social media, while warning that every decision should be taken on a case-by-case basis. Dal said, "It doesn't take rocket science to predict what will happen. The far right will twist this and say, right, you've named the race because it's a white person, why aren't you naming the race of the next person? And it will present some difficulties and challenges to the police." So according to the police, if you ask that people be treated the same regardless of skin colour, then you're far right. How far we've drifted from the dream of Martin Luther King. And Dal Babu openly admits that they will treat different ethnicities differently and says that this is a good thing. You could imagine a situation where the far right will say, oh, you haven't named the ethnicity of the person and that's because they're a person of colour. It's really important that people don't see it as a precedent because every incident will be different. People may feel in a future incident that they're entitled to know the ethnicity and race, and it may not be appropriate to release it. Maybe Dal Babu isn't smart enough to realise that we will know whether they release it or not. If there's another attack and the headline reads, "Man arrested," and nothing else, then we know that he's not white. And if the guy's white, they'll announce his ethnicity. They say that this two-tier treatment is for the greater good to stop rioting or racist attacks. But if our society can only be sustained by treating people differently based on their ethnicity and background, that's not a good omen for a harmonious future. The other precedent that they're setting is that we can treat different demographic groups differently for the greater good of society. I mean, this opens a can of worms because there's a lot of demographic groups that could be treated differently for the long-term good of the UK. The Guardian article is very revealing about the priorities of the people running Britain. A senior legal source said that there could be circumstances where naming the ethnicity of a suspect could cause riots rather than quell them. What will a force do if they arrest someone in similar circumstances who has recently arrived on a small boat or who has a clearly Muslim name? They will now be under huge pressure to name them, the source said. In the fevered minds of the people running Britain, the only bad thing about an imaginary future attack by a Muslim is the imaginary future backlash against Muslims. Norm MacDonald must be spinning in his grave. And the establishment view played out across social media as everyone condemned any speculation that the Liverpool car ramming might have been motivated by Islamic extremism as racist. I mean, how is it racist to notice patterns? And can you blame people for distrusting the official narrative when Axel Rudicabana is referred to as a Welsh choir boy? We're so used to this gaslighting. When we see terms such as Swindon man or Ukrainian refugee or woman, we know that we can't take the official narrative at its face value. Is the Swindon man Turkish? Does the woman have a cock? As for the Ukrainian refugee, I'm guessing he's a victim of the transatlantic Slav trade. I've also got to mention the vitriol directed at the great comedian Andrew Lawrence, who upset the entirety of Scouseland when he cracked a little joke on Twitter saying, "To be fair, if I was in Liverpool, I'd drive through crowds of people to get the F out of there as well." The way people reacted, you'd think he was driving the car. People were threatening his family, posting pictures of his house online. Scousers are so insanely thin-skinned and aggressive, the only way I can describe them is they're like Al-Qaeda, if Al-Qaeda were allowed to drink alcohol. Hot Water Comedy Club in Liverpool, which is a great club by the way, put out a statement condemning Andrew Lawrence for making a joke that offended them. "He is not welcome at any of our events or venues. His name will never appear on a bill associated with us. His brand of cruelty has no place in the kind of comedy we stand for. Promoters and comedians who continue to book or share a stage with him should think carefully about what that says to audiences. If you're standing by him, you're standing against everything this industry should represent. Our heartfelt thoughts are with everyone affected by what happened yesterday. Liverpool stands together." Other comedy clubs joined the pylon, with the iconic Comedy Store in London posting, "We stand beside Hot Water Comedy and the people of Liverpool. Lawrence won't ever be welcome at any of our store shows or tour shows." But at least Hot Water Comedy have some skin in the game. The store don't even have a club in Liverpool, and they haven't booked Andrew Lawrence, or me, in years. They've gone properly shit now. They're like a tourist attraction trading on their old name. They only book fat, genderqueer, pronoun people. And both clubs book people who do jokes about all kinds of offensive things. Topics such as Madeleine McCann, 9/11, school shootings, stuff that kids actually died in. Now they're acting like the Islamic morality police because someone said something that offends their personal thing. And these comedy clubs are setting the precedent that comedians should be cancelled if somebody gets offended. These clowns are building their own gallows. Andrew's joke wasn't even that bad. Unlike some of the things joked about on stage at Hot Water, nobody died in the Liverpool car ramming, and obviously Andrew and everyone else praised that everyone injured recovers and is back down the dole office or teenage pregnancy clinic as soon as possible. The Comedy Store has been shit for years, but it's sad to see Hot Water act like Victorian vicars' wives, particularly when they platform some of the most offensive comedians like Freddie Quinn and Rob Mulholland. They're great guys, check their stuff out. But what this incident revealed most of all is that Britain is on a knife edge and the authorities know it, and also they're not on the side of Brits. What's inevitably going to happen over the next few years is there's going to be an attack by Islamists precisely because they want to spur a violent reaction, which will see mosques and asylum hotels attacked, to then galvanise the more peaceful Muslims who up until then had just wanted to get along with everyone to pick a side and fight back. I'm not making this up. This strategy is articulated by Islamist leaders and philosophers such as Abu Musab al-Suri, a key jihadi strategist and former Al-Qaeda member. He wrote the Global Islamic Resistance Call in 2004, in which he encouraged leaderless jihad and provoking the West into overreaction. He said that Islamic terror attacks in Western countries would trigger repression and Islamophobia, which would then push Western Muslims towards jihad, and he encouraged the creation of civil unrest and ethnic conflict as a means of breaking down liberal societies. We're now in a situation where this is increasingly likely. Unfortunately, if violence does break out, the government have shown that they will side firmly with the Islamists, who they see as good because they're diverse, and against the indigenous Brits, who are bad because they're white and colonialist and all the other things the left tells us are bad. I know there's hope amongst some people that the anti-white sentiment espoused by the establishment is just window dressing, just some fashionable virtue signalling, but I think it goes right to their core. We are ruled by by communists who will happily slaughter millions to achieve their utopian dreams. So our future is waiting for the sword of Damocles to swing down, where leftists will ally with Islamists to overthrow British capitalist democracy and institute a socialist utopia, just as they did in Iran in 1979. And you can watch my video on how that went right here. And if you want to support me making these videos and get early access and see all my stuff in one place, then sign up to my Patreon. Anyway, thanks for listening. I've been Leo Kears. Bye. Bye bye.